Immigration, the opioids crisis, what are other priorities
Well,
for you?
immigration is clearly a priority here. So let's start with that and we can talk about others. But, as the country talks about immigration, we've been talking about the southern border, but clearly we live on the northern border. I was just driving with one of my new staff members who's not from here, and he said, oh, the signs are in French, because we were on this side of the district. We are welcoming. I'm from the northern end of this district. We go over the bridge for work. People come here to shop. We want a border that is open, and we want our Canadian neighbors to continue to be allies and friends. Now, we also want our universities to recruit internationally. We have always had wonderful Plattsburgh here, SUNY Potsdam, St. Lawrence University, Clarkson. I've taught English as a second language and been an adjunct at Clarkson, St. Lawrence, and SUNY Potsdam. And our international students bring in culture and diversity, and they also bring in money into our communities, into our universities. And then we would look at farming throughout this region and the importance of people who are working on our farms and in our tourism industries. We want immigration policies that allow people to work and live in our communities and help our businesses thrive as well. So when I look at immigration, I look at all of those variables because this district has always been very welcoming and open to people from all over the world. And I hope that we will continue to do that.
Open borders so important. Do you fear that the tariffs and that the state of the NAFTA talks with Canada being excluded from the deal with Mexico and the possibility of no longer having a trilateral trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, do you fear that that could hurt trade relations and relations between the U.S. and Canada?
Yeah, this isn't just my fear, this is everyone's fear. I think this is the conversation that we are having. If we wanted to fix NAFTA, which many would argue needs to happen, then we should fix it. That's the job. The new normal now has become, like I said, chaos. And then we're reacting. That's not good government. Good government is saying, hey, NAFTA maybe didn't treat people. I'm from, again, St. Lawrence County, and I've seen the closure of a GM plant. I know the impact of trade agreements on manufacturing. So if we need to make it better, which many would argue we do, then we need to change, open those discussions and say, this is what's not working, and go through those discussions with purpose and deliberance and openness. And what we're doing is we're reacting and then trying to pick up the pieces. And that's not good government. We know it, and we've got to change that.
You're from St. Lawrence County.
Yes,
you mentioned many dairy farms there. Farmers going through a tough time right now with milk prices. Where they are in the $14, $15, $16 range per hundredweight, back where they were in the 80s. Does the farm bill that's currently sitting in committee address some of the problems and provide a safety net for farmers, or is there something else that needs to be done?
Not enough of a safety net. I think there are some benefits for much larger farmers, but those kind of more moderate sized farms. Farms have really changed within the district and within the United States. So the farmers really haven't found reprieve with that. But remember the other part of that bill, and that is SNAP benefits. And I think that's crucially important to talk about. SNAP benefits, we sometimes call them food stamps, but it's the Food and Nutrition Program. 75% of the people who receive SNAP are working. We would be taking away the food security from people who are working 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs, from children, from elderly, from veterans, from people who are in military service right now. I think that cannot be, we cannot miss talking about the importance of that as well. And I will say this, because I am going to talk about Elise Stefanik's record. She supports taking away SNAP benefits and making there be a work requirement, while again, we already have people receiving SNAP who are working. It unduly harms people. I have been on public assistance. I was working, running a small not-for-profit. I was doing AIDS work, or I was doing AIDS education. My husband was starting an energy efficiency not-for-profit to help low-income people make their homes more energy efficient. And after having a baby, I had to go back to work, which many people have to do, and I needed formula. And I remember being at a WIC clinic and saying, I can't afford formula. And the woman with whom I was working, I was doing AIDS work there, said, well, you've got to be eligible, Tedra. I remember going home to my husband and saying, should we apply? Should we apply? Embedded in that question is how we feel about people who at some parts in their life who have paid into the system who might need some help. And I remember using a WIC coupon and being embarrassed by the checkout person. And I remember that feeling of embarrassment. And I looked behind me at the line of people and I thought, I really want to just tell them I'm working. I just want to let them know I'm working. Because of that stigma, so many people in this district are working 1 and 2 and sometimes 3 jobs and still having trouble putting food on the table. I have spent my lifetime, my career, helping people, and I hope to do that by passing laws that will continue to help people and not harm them. I will bring that experience to Washington.